Nowadays, many people use e-wallets such as GrabPay and ShopeePay for their transactions. Instead of using cash, people now prefer mobile application because they are faster and more convenient. However, in Islam, every transaction must follow certain rules. So, questions arise such as whether using e-wallet is allowed and whether there are elements of riba and ghara involved. Since e-wallet were not discussed in classical fiqh, both scholars use the method of qiyas to determine the ruling. Therefore, the study focused on analyzing the use of e-wallets through qiyas by identifying the relevant in law. The development of financial technology has changed the people make payments in Malaysia. In the past, cash and debit cards were commonly used, but today many prefer e-wallets for their daily transactions. From buying groceries to paying highway tolls, e-wallets are seen as faster and more convenient. However, for Muslims, new forms of digital transaction brings new challenge, especially in Islamic finance. Many modern transactions such as fintech and digital payments were not discussed in classical fiqh. In Islam, financial transactions are allowed as long as they do not involve riba, ghara, maisir, or israf. Therefore, the use of e-wallet is acceptable if it follows the rules and principles set by Islamic. Usul is a field of knowledge that helps scholars determine Islamic legal rulings. It guides the process of istinbat, which means deriving laws from the Quran and Sunnah. Through usul scholars can decide whether a ruling is based on a clear text or on ijtihad for new issues. One important method in usul and qiyas, which means making comparison or analogy. Qiyas is used when there is no direct evidence in the Quran or Hadith for a new issue. For example, alcohol is forbidden in Islam because it causes intoxication. So any other drink that causes intoxication is also forbidden, even if it is not alcohol. This same method is applied today to new issues such as e-wallet and digital transaction. In the tradition of Jurat al-Risalah, classical scholars use qiyas to decide rulings for new issues that were not clearly mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah. Qiyas is known as the fourth source of Islamic law, but it depends on the Quran and Hadith. It works by giving the same ruling to a new issue when it shares the same illah as an original case. A clear classical example is the prohibition of alcohol. Alcohol is forbidden because it causes intoxication, so other substances that also cause intoxication are considered haram through qiyas, even if they are not mentioned in the Quran. Using this same approach, modern transactions such as e-wallet can be compared to conventional buying and selling. This shows that although e-wallet did not exist during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, qiyas have ensured that new practice remain in line with Islamic law. Today, e-wallets and digital money transactions are widely used in Malaysia due to the convenience of cashless payment systems. The market is mainly dominated by major providers such as Touch and Go e-wallet, MAE, GrabPay, Boost, ShopeePay, and BigPay, reflecting the shift towards digital financial management. According to the Office of the Mufti of the Federal Territory, the use of e-wallet is generally permissible in Islam. However, certain Sharia issues may arise, including elements of riba, ghara in contracts, and the misuse of users' funds. Therefore, Muslims are advised to choose a Sharia-compliant e-wallet platforms. From a Sharia perspective, e-wallet functions as a financial tool or means which is permissible as long as it complies with Islamic principles.
For this case study, I will discuss the use of e-wallets in daily transaction. In Malaysia, e-wallets such as GrabPay, Touch and Go, and Boost are widely used for payments, money transaction, and bill payments. This system is especially popular among the younger generation because it is convenient and supports cashless transaction. However, despite this advantage, there are concerns regarding its presumability under Islamic law, particularly related to elements such as gharar, riba, and the management of funds by third-party institutions. To analyze this issue, the usul method applied is qiyas, which is making an analogy between modern practices and existing Islamic rulings. E-wallet usage can be compared to stuff where physical money is exchanged into digital value, and by which refers to sale transactions when paying for goods and services. Based on this analogy, e-wallet transaction can be considered permissible as long as the process is clear, transparent, and free from riba and excessive gharar.
The Shafi'i school teach that financial transaction must be clear, fair and free from uncertainty, which is gharar, as explained by Imam Al-Shafi'i in IO. Using qiyas, modern tools like e-wallets are compared to traditional contracts such as sarf and buying and are allowed if they follow Islamic rules. Some modern scholars worry about uncertainty when e-wallet balance are unclear, reward or cashback system are confusing, or third parties manage the money without transparency. Jakim permits e-wallet as long as there is no riba or gharar and the terms are clear, but advises users to be careful with platforms that are not transparent.
Digital e-wallets are not directly mentioned in the Quran or Sunnah. Therefore, Islamic scholars need to apply usul fiqh to determine their ruling in Islamic law. This is done through ijtihad using established principles such as qiyas, maslahah mursalah, sadd zara'i and uruf, which help scholars relate modern technology to existing Islamic financial practices. Through the methods, scholars can evaluate whether the e-wallet follow key sharia principles such as amanah in safeguarding users' funds, the prohibition of riba, transparency in ownership, the protection of wealth, and hifzul mal. Usul fiqh also help assess the validity of digital contracts, the transaction process, possible risks like RORA manipulation, and the benefits such as convenience and efficiency. In conclusion, applying usul fiqh ensures that the use of e-wallet complies with the maqasid sharia, especially in protecting wealth, ensuring justice, and preventing harm. Scholar and fatwa opinion, Jakim together with researchers from UUM studied the use of e-wallet and identified several important sharia issues. These include the safety of user funds, clarity of contract, management of float money, and the need to avoid elements such as riba, RORA, and fraud. They recommended that e-wallet providers must clearly disclose that type of contract used and ensure that users' money is fully protected and not involved in interest-based activities. In line with this, the Sharia Advisory Council, or MPS, in its meeting held in January 2020, wrote that the use of e-wallet is permissible in Islam if they are based on a Sharia compliant contract. They recommended contract is wakalah, where the providers act as an agent for the user in making payments. Therefore, e-wallets are allowed as long as they follow Sharia principles such as transparency, proper fund management, and avoidance of prohibited elements, in accordance with guidelines set by Jakim and MPS.
From Islamic perspective, e-wallets are generally considered permissible through qiyas, as they function like physical cash by allowing lawful ownership, clear value, and valid transfer of funds. Locally in Malaysia, e-wallets are widely accepted and strictly regulated under Bank Negara Malaysia. Malaysia adopts a conservative and structured approach, ensuring Sharia compliance, consumer protection, and financially stability. Digital payments and cashback features are allowed, while interest-based services and unregulated digital assets are restricted. Globally, especially in the Middle East, scholars also agree on the permissibility of regulated e-wallets. However, opinion differs on cryptocurrencies. Countries like United Arab Emirates and Bahrain are more open to regulated crypto, while others remain cautious due to volatility and gharar. In conclusion, both local and global scholars accept e-wallet through qiyas. Malaysia applies more cautious and regulatory approach, while global views are more diverse. In today's digital world, financial transactions are rapidly evolving. For Muslims, using e-wallet are not only about convenience but also about faith, ethics, and trust. First, Muslim confidence. Through Islamic legal methods such as usul fiqh and qiyas, scholars assess new financial technologies by comparing them with lawful practice. This guidance helps Muslim confidence that e-wallet transactions comply with Sharia, and also allowing them to use modern financial tools without fear and doubt. Second, ethical consideration. Islamic finance emphasizes transparency, fairness, and avoiding gharar. E-wallet provider must clearly explain their terms, protect users' funds, and ensure fair transaction. This value build trust, justice, and accountability. In conclusion, Sharia compliant digital finance strengthen both spiritual responsibility and ethical economic practice within the Muslim community.